Yeah. Okay. The poem is called A Parable of Stones. Every time I go into the world's morning, my pockets are full of stones. You cannot see them. Where my hands are hid, sometimes bruised by their edges. And a quick and deadly aim I have, and ask no questions. My hands are cold, and few stones left I have at its day's end, and groan as my hands bleed. My state who can endure? As morning breaks, I know again I have more stones to cast. You cannot see them, where my hands close and all my days bleed. Who will close my morning? Oh, who will empty my pockets of my stones? That's it.
Wonderful, Jim. Wonderful. And was this the poem that you recited while on top of that carroza?
No.
No, it's a different
the
one.
poem I recited there was I Teach My Child.
I Teach My Child.
Yes.
I think we're going to request for I Teach My Child
sure.
to end
Towards
the
the
program
end, yeah.
with.
Yeah, I can recite that too.
Where did you recite this parable of stones?
There too, in Medellin.
In Medellin.
And I think I might have recited it too in Granada.
And then after you recite it, they come up with the translation in Spanish.
That's right. That's right.
And then how was the reaction?
All the time, whoever the poet is, the reaction is just, heartwarming, you might say.
Did they translate it to the Jimmy after you finished the entire
No, they
line by line?
Yeah. Before you go there, they ask the poets for translations. So I ask my friends to translate my poem.
But during the event, which comes first? The translation or
the original?
The original.
The original.
And then the Spanish,
the translation,
apart from this, Jim, you were also, notable for having won the Ferrogna Prize in Italy a few years back, where you also performed or recited your poetry in an adjunct poetry evening. Can you tell us about that?
This is another international poetry festival in Rome, although we also travel in Italy, the Mediterranean Festival of Literature and the Arts. Yeah, international also. So it's the same thing that that you will experience also in South America. But this is Italy. Yeah, also like that. However, I can't remember an outdoor performance in Italy. It's usually inside some building.
But the reason why you were there,
crowds of people,
principally was because they were going to award you the Ferrogna Prize, right?
I was there the first time around. It was a poet from India who got the Premio Ferrogna. I was invited, so I attended.
Okay.
But the following year, somebody, Gezi Majari, came over here to the Philippines, met with some of the poets. We gave him our books. Before I knew it, he asked permission from me if he could translate my book of poems in ordinary time. Sure, I mean, no problem.
Into Italian.
Into Italian.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that he would submit it as an entry. Yeah, and that's how I got the Ferrogna
Prize.
Through him,
Yeah.
Gezi Majari. He translated it.
That's one injunction we can have to the young people: be a poet and see the world. Really, if you become a mature, kind of successful poet, once you're invited to one of these things, you enter what's called the circuit.
Yes.
You make friends during that festival. Some people appreciate your presence, and they will recommend you to other friends at other festivals. And we've had we've had a slew of Filipino poets who have been going around the world. Every year, there is no scarcity of Filipino poets writing in Filipino or in English attending an international festival. I recall won with distinction only last year. During the London Olympics, there was a parallel cultural activity they called the Olympics of Poetry. Poetry Parnassus, they called it in London. And again, Margie Vasco was the Filipino delegate. You know. And she had a wonderful time. They have all this pakulo na performance, like each one will write his poetry in a piece of paper, and then somebody brings it up in a balloon, I think, in a gondola, and then scatter the poems around the city. Gimmicks. Ganda.
So, around how many international poetry fests would you say you've been?
Wait, can I use my toes?
You can use the hands and toes of everybody.
There's
in the
also
studio.
Singapore, by the way.
Several na, but I'm proudest of the ones that are kind of irregular, you know, like well, in Latin America, but one in rather exotic places, like in 2007, I believe. Yeah, I went to South Africa, Durban.
Durban.
There was another one in Finland, long ago, in the 90s. And
Finland.
then, of course, most of us get invited to Bangkok, Kuala Lumpur, parang common na yan. Yung,
There's one in Macedonia.
Yeah.
Remember?
I think that's the Struga evenings.
In
I
Macedonia.
don't know, someone was invited there, right?
Angelo Suarez.
I intend to you didn't
Yes,
have
of
to say it.
course. You didn't have to say it. He's embedded in our hearts.
Our? In any case. It's a private joke. That's gone public, I'm afraid. But, like, so Margie Vasco keeps getting invited.
Yes.
Si Dr. Sun Kua, no, she travels a lot. Si Angelo has been invited several times. Sarge, as a fiction writer, also gets invited to
Butch
international-
Dalisay.
Butch Dalisay,
Yeah.
Cirilo Bautista,
Yes.
Ricky de Ungra, and I were together in KL one time.
China, Russia.
Apart from the writers' official delegations, no. But again, we're gonna run out of time. I'd like to parang steer the conversation to something that's not exactly international, but this is where it all comes from. You know, the source. This is a national writing workshop that, again, Jimmy had attended very recently. I think it deserves some promotion. If we can have the rest of the photos. I think there are only 5 or 6 photographs of a recent literary activity there, held in the city of Pines. Jimmy Abad must be somewhere there as a panelist.
Those are the fellows.
These are the fellows of the UP
Kumustahan.
National Writers Workshop for mid-career writers.
That's right.
Diba?
Yeah.
That is the difference. I
There's
think
Ben
this was
Cab.
at Ben Cab's museum grounds. I can
So
identify.
this is all in Baguio.
Yes,
one
Baguio.
in
Butch
Baguio.
Dalisay is on the left, then that's Ben Cab, Jimmy. Who's the fellow?
I
Is
think
Charles
that might
Ano?
be.
Or
It's
some,
not so clear. Yeah,
some
maybe
Ibaloy
it's
guy.
Jack.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jack of the UST Publishing House. Yeah.
These
That's
are the panelists.
The panelists with the fellows.
Now with the fellows.
Yeah.
There are 2 national artists in attendance here.
Yes.
Rio Almario, our friend, and Benvenido
Ben
Lumbera, both of UP.
Yeah.
And then they meet up with Ben Cab, who's another national artist. So
Yes.
it's quite a good event, no? Yung goes on for more than a week. And a lot of fun. A lot of fun. There's Jimmy with Ben. yeah.
Bien Lumbera.
I think this is at Mount Cloud Bookshop,
That's right. We were
run
judging.
by Padma Perez, Padmapani Perez.
That's right. Padma.
Daughter of our friend Butch. And I think there was a poetry slam during that night,
That's right.
which Jim Lebiran, the film maker
Yeah.
and scriptwriter, won.
Yeah. He won that prize. Yeah. Poetry slam.
Jim was one of the judges. But we tried to show that not only because it's been another recent literary engagement of Dr. Abad, but I'm saying those are the sources. You have the UP Writers Workshop, you have the Silliman University National
That's
Writers Workshop, you have Iligan. Ongoing now is the one in Bacolod.
LaSalle.
Iwas, I think, or LaSalle.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are several others. And out of these national workshops, are produced, generations of
writers,
poets and writers who eventually,
Yes.
set out to conquer the rest of the world.
I have a question
yes.
for any younger poets that might want to eventually partake in these international poetry fests. What do they have to do as early as now? Let's say they're starting their writing careers. They
Sell
hope to
yourself.
travel. Sell yourself.
To the devil. Well, you just have to be evolve, keep getting better and better.
But do you have to get invited to these things? Can they actually apply for them?
The festivals, I think, for the most part, you do not apply. What you can apply for are residences, or what are called bursaries.
That's
you
right.
know, writers,
Right.
fellowships. These are for conferences, retreats, or just 5 weeks. Those are also better than
Which
festivals.
are important too.
Sometimes, because
Oh,
they're
yes.
really the writing craft. You get
Right.
invited to Italy.
Bellagio.
We've been to Scotland,
Yes.
we've been to Italy, we've been to
Hawthornden.
Finland, Belgium,
And
ganyan.
you get to network doing these things.
Yes, also, but a smaller crowd. It's really practicing writers. You're lodged in a castle or some villa, and you're expected to work, produce.
It's a kind of writer's retreat.
Whatever reading you have is a private reading, intimate lang.
yeah.
These are different from the poetry festivals are really public.
Yes.
And with a lot of fora also and some lectures, ganyan, but mostly readings. Very. Oh, I might forget to mention that among the many projects that Dr. Rabad, who wears many hats, both at home and at UP, is currently doing, is an important collection of Philippine poetry to be published by a very prestigious American literary journal called the Prairie Schooner, one of the better known ones, for which Jim is editing a folio of Philippine poets and poems on the subject of trees, right? On the
That's right.
subject of trees. No Joyce Kilmer lookalikes. And for this folio, Jim has asked someone known to you to possibly be the visual component
Yes.
or the illustrator or
That's
designer.
right. Yeah. The artist for this special issue.
Yes.
Yes. That is Maxine Sehudka.
And this is the part where both Benita Jimmy advised me backstage. I'm supposed to say, "Why Maxine? Why not me?" But I'm not going to say that because I don't feel that way.
Never be a Chris.
Yeah.
I'll never be a
We
Chris.
wanted family intrigue.
They wanted to bring up the ratings of our show by having me say, "Why not me?"
I wonder if we can still accommodate another poem. How many minutes pa ba do we have kaya? I think one long poem from Jimmy can 10 minutes. That's too long.
5 minutes maybe.
What other international poetry festivals remain very much embedded in memory, Jim?
Actually, other than the Mediterranean Festival, Iran.
Yes.
Iran.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they also have.
Yeah, well, Ricky and I were there last year.
That's right.
I
we should
completely
not
forgot.
forget
Yeah.
Iran.
Tehran, we were in Tehran and in Shiraz.
What made that
Two cities.
memorable for you,
Yeah.
Tita Jimmy?
Well, it's the same thing. They have monuments to their
Yeah,
poets.
mausoleums,
Yeah.
Hafiz.
There's
I'll make
Shiraz.
you a mausoleum.
Yeah. Yeah, and there is Rumi, and they really revere their poets. Yeah. It's the same thing, no? As in South America.
Yeah.
Also, towards the end of the festival, they bring you to Persepolis.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Persepolis.
the ruins of Persepolis. That's a kind of climax for that
Ancient ruins of
yeah,
Persepolis.
Yeah. And I was surprised. I hesitated to bring my wife there. I wasn't sure what might be the Muslim culture there. I was very surprised. It's they don't the women don't cover themselves there except for the scarf.
Yeah.
They're,
The hair still has to be covered.
And in fact, they're quite fashionable. The women there.
In
Yeah.
Tehran, anyway.
Yeah,
in Tehran,
in
which is the
Tehran.
capital.
Yeah.
But still strict with regards to headscarf.
And no liquor. I'm sorry to say that, Grip.
Yes. There
No
was
hard
wine.
drinks.
There was wine because
Yeah.
in
In the
Shiraz,
hotel.
in Shiraz in particular, it's an exception that they allow the Shiraz wine manufacturers to
Yes.
continue because that's why wine is sometimes the wine that's produced there is called Shiraz.
Shiraz. Yeah.
It's actually red sherry.
That's right.
It's sherry. Shiraz.
Shiraz.
Yeah, that is an important festival. And then you have, we might as well mention that in Manila, in the Philippines, we've had a few.
Yes.
It's just not
I'm
consistent.
aware.
We don't have the
Not
wherewithal
regular. Yeah.
or the government support or institutional support to run it the way.
We don't have an annual like this.
Yeah, like
or not.
Medellin and Nicaragua and South Africa. They're already into their 17th, 18th, ganyan, every year. In Bali also, there is one in Ubud. In Manila, it's every 5 or 10 years irregularly. Jim and I hosted one 2002, I think.
That's right.
Maybe it's time
Asian
to
writers. Yeah.
it's time to mount another one where you will be not only the social directress but the performance temptress.
Trixie will be our star performer.
Oh, thank you, Tito Jim. If we did have annual poetry festivals in Manila, though, how do you think the audiences would compare?
Uh-huh.
Well,
Well,
we have a tribe of Osiceros to begin with, no? I'm sure it's been tried before, like Rock Ed or some events, the Alliance Francaise, they brought poetry, di ba, to
Yes.
MRT stations.
Yes.
We've been together sa Prontam de Poesy, di ba? And the usual June, July celebration of French music and poetry. We can bring it to public venues. Fort Bonifacio, Bonifacio High Street, only recently had the Dia del Libro, courtesy of the Instituto Cervantes, where they read
And it's
poetry.
public.
Public.
Public
Maganda.
performance. Of poetry.
We have various other public venues, I think, apart from the universities, college campuses, and then, of course, the CCP. But maybe, we can ask na Jim to recite his long poem, and whether or not he finishes it while the credits roll,
It is a
we
long
don't mind.
time, so-
But might as well take this chance to say goodbye to your fans for this night's episode.
I'd like to
Trix.
say thank you again so much to all our viewers, to all of Crips fans. I don't have any, so I can't say thank you. No, just kidding.
Wait, you forgot one thing. Happy Earth Day yesterday.
Happy Earth Day
Happy
yesterday.
Earth Day yesterday. Also,
I hope you all turned off your lights.
happy
and
birthday
cell
to
phones and
Jim's and
computers.
my mother,
Yes.
Edith Tiempo,
Mom
national
Edith.
artist.
Happy birthday, Mom.
She's passed away to the great beyond, but we'll still love her. Happy birthday, Mom Edith. Where's the party? That's about it. Oh, and also an explanation why I'm wearing this T-shirt, because in a few hours from now, Barcelona football team is going up against Bayern Munich in Germany, and I think we'll beat them 2-0 because of the star, Messi, number 9. Messi. Okay, Jim, your poem.
Yeah, this is the poem I recited yesterday. Was it yesterday?
Dia del Libro last Saturday, I think.
That's right. Yeah,
Yes,
Saturday.
yes, at
yeah.
Bonnie High Street.
Yeah, I teach my child. Yeah, I teach my child to survive. I begin with our words, the simple words first and last. They are hardest to learn. Words like home or friend or to forgive. These words are relations. They are difficult to bear. Their fruits are unseen. Or words that promise or dream. Words like honor or certainty or cheer. Rivers of sound, their roots run deep. These are words that aspire. They cast no shade. These are not words to speak. These are the words of which we consist, indefinite, without other ground. My child is without syllables to utter him, captive yet to his origin in silence. By every word to rule his space, he is released. He is shaped by his speech. Every act too is first without words. There's no rehearsal to adjust your deed from direction of its words. The words are given, but there's no script. Their play is hidden. We are their stage. These are the words that offer to our care both sky and earth. The same words that may elude our acts. If we speak them, but cannot meet their sound, they strand us still in our void, blank, like the child with the uphill silence of his words climb. And so I teach my child to survive. I begin with our words, the simple words first that last. That's it.
Oh,
Hey,
Jim, you managed to make it within 5 minutes, so we
5
can
minutes.
still say a proper goodbye.
Yeah.
No, I just want to point out to our viewers that Tito Jimmy or Dr. Jimeno H. Abad recites all of his poems from memory. In case you didn't notice that, there's no código here. He's not reading off
Are you
the
sure?
book.
No.
Yes.
I thought I saw an idiot board earlier. Someone parading around with an idiot board here. No, I'm just inggit.
Yeah, he is
Kasi I'm Alzheimer's na.
I recite other poets' poems.
Yes,
too.
also.
Yeah. Filipino
yeah.
poets and foreign poets. Of course, your favorites, di ba?
Yes, of
Ni
course.
Cookin.
And you remember all of this, Tito.
Well, I have to prepare. Sometimes I forget. That's the price. That's the price I pay.
Yeah.
I forget, and it has happened.
Yeah, it's a gamble one
Yeah.
takes.
You have to ad-lib a little bit.
But it always makes a good impression, well, not internationally, no? As you said, that famous poet from Chile, you said he's in his 80s, like that, and he also...
And it was very long. It was a very long poem. And he's really taken up with the words that he recites. Yeah, very dramatic. Quite a performer.
That reminds me of the
Even if he's
famous...
trembling like that.
I don't know if he's still alive. W.S. Rendra. Did you have occasion to meet with him? A famous Indonesian poet. He was under house arrest also for almost a decade for political activity. But Ricky and I, parang we're fortunate to have him in the group in Malaysia as a reader. Fantastic then, no? Very robust.
You know, before I forget, Kwame Dawes, my co-editor in the Prairie Schooner, he is a performer. He recited there too, in Granada. I met him for the first time there. Yeah, he sings. He sings parts of his poem. Yeah, he's also
Well,
a remarkable performer.
when we mount our
From
own,
memory.
when we mount our own international poet,
We should
let's
mount
invite
our
him
No,
and
we
have
must
him
invite Kwame.
have him meet Trix and
Ah,
fall before her,
Fall on my knees.
and worship the ground beneath her feet.
He's a great performer.
Galing
Kwame
yan, ganyan.
Dawes,
Oh. Yeah, we have to do that, X. That's why I like the one in Durban, because they combine the old poets, or what were called the page poets, the ones who read from the book, and the slam poets.
The
You know,
performers,
the young ones from 18 to 23, they have their rap poetry in their
yeah.
head, you know, and then there's rhythm. They combine the two. Ang ganda.
Ang ganda.
There's no distinction. And by the end of the festival, we were both learning from one another. You know, I was beginning to recite my poem from my cell phone with the rhythm of the rap, while the rappers naman were learning how to be more formalist. So there's an exchange.
That's right.
Ang ganda.
Ricky Unger performs well.
Yeah, and Ricky
he's
is both,
terrific.
can be formal, can
he's
be
terrific.
rap style.
Yeah.
He can sing.
Jim Libiran, the
Jim
one in
Libiran,
UP Baguio. Quite.
I know one guy who even plays a plastic toy gun. You know, and does this cosmic sounds, this Cesare AX. Say who?
Cesare.
And then he does 0 times 1.
Yeah, he's terrific.
Good.
He's
I'm going to
terrific.
show him this episode.
Very innovative.
Thank you, Tito Jim.
I think our time is up.
I think we're all
Happy
out of
poetry
time.
to you. Happy Earth Day to you
Happy
yesterday.
poetry, happy Earth Day,
Again, happy
football.
birthday, Mami Edith.
Yeah, Mame did.
Happy game, Barca.
Just a happy week to all of you. We'll catch you again next week. Thank you for joining us on Illuminati with Pip and Trix and Dr. Hemino.
Viva la poesía.
Okay.